AJ, how you doing, man? You doing all right?
I'm great. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing splendid. Okay, so coming out here, this is like your coach, this is like your guy, right?
Yeah.
What does it mean for you to have somebody like this kind of behind you?
Man, it's so cool. I have so much respect for Dawson as the coach and as the person. When I was in high school, when I was first learning how to punt, Dawson was sort of just coming out of the NFL. He was kind of like halfway. Am I going to keep training? Am I not? And so he was sort of getting into the coaching thing. And I was playing basketball right when I was learning how to punt my junior year. And he was driving down to my high school, which is probably legit in traffic, 50 minutes to an hour from here. He was driving all the way down there, and he was kicking with me after my basketball practice on my high school field at like 6 o'clock to 7. The lights, like sun's going down, trying to turn on the lights, kicking in the dark. And I think I was paying him like $50 or something like that. So after gas money, he's probably clearing like $20 for hours of his time. And so, I mean, for forever, I'll do anything that I can for him and to work with him. And, those days were real cool because it was just me and him trying to figure it out. He was trying to figure out who he was as a coach and how to kind of relay the information he had in his head. And I was trying to figure out how to use my body and get the most out of it. So ever since then, me and him have just been kind of figuring it out together. If I have like a bad day or a weird day, he's the first person I'm sending film with. I blow up his phone constantly. I'm unashamed to do so. And I think he's the best in the business. He's incredible. And he's seen the whole development. He's seen the whole product. He's seen the first time I tried to kick a ball, it coming off my shin. So he's been there every step.
The only part we don't see is this little time in between when you leave NC State and get to the Raiders. Like, what changes?
Yeah, I was actually just talking to Dawson about that. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made is I kind of picked the wrong lane to go down with my form a little bit. And when I was in college, I was sort of only comparing myself to myself and to the other guys that were there. I wasn't really kicking against like the elite of the elite competition. And so I had the technique that I was using. I was kind of like a jab two guy, and I was real rigid. I was dropping the ball real nose up. And if you watch any of my film from back then, the hips just stay so far behind. I'm just kicking this. It's just all quad. There's no triple extension of the hips. I'm not using my hang clean muscles. And so I was turning balls over and I was hitting some good balls, but it took me going down to Birmingham in between my senior season and pro day to really wake me up that I needed to change a lot of stuff and I needed to make some big improvements really. And I was down there with Ty Long and Ryan Santoso, who was punting at the same time, and I was going on the field with them every day, and I was just getting absolutely thrashed, just put in the blender and just like full ninja. And it took that for me to be like, all right, we need like drastic changes. Like we need a whole makeover. Like it's not, haircut's not going to do. We need a total makeover. And that was huge for me. I started doing the kickstart. I tried to get the nose flat, and I tried to just really be able to use like everything I have. And so I think that for me, one of the biggest things you can do is just get around elite competition. I've always tried to do that. I kicked with half the NFL this offseason. I probably kick with just about half the NFL every offseason. And so when you have that yardstick to compare yourself to, you really know how you stack up. And it just forces you to look in the mirror in a different way. If you're just kicking by yourself, you can kind of disillusion yourself to be like, oh, it was a good day. That wasn't that bad. That was whatever. And the reality is that's not always the case. When you're out there kicking with a Blake and with a Jake and kicking and they're hitting these monster balls. If you're not stacking up against that, it's real obvious to everybody that's there, to yourself included. So that was huge. But yeah, I think that time period from January to my first year. And then I think the other thing that happened to me was COVID, which helped a lot too. I was down in Birmingham with a bunch of different guys. I was living with Jack Fox, Tyler Newsome, Richie Leone, who's in the CFL, and Jake Hartbarger, who punted at Michigan State. And the five of us were living together. We had a jugs machine in our backyard, and we basically just no-lifed punting for like 5 months, whatever it was. All we did was work out, shoot jugs, punt, watch film, sleep. Do the same thing the next day, rinse, repeat. And that was a big step up for me. And I feel like I really unlocked some stuff then. It kind of took a little bit for me to figure out how to apply it to the game, but I think I took another big step then.
Okay, day like today, you're out here punting, got a good competition. What's the focus? What's kind of like the goal? Like, what are you coming out here to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the time of the year to put on the finishing touches to go into training camp. I'm not really a guy that says don't change anything during the season because sometimes you need to change things, but I don't think you have complete changeover during the season. Like, you don't have a total makeover. And so I think for me, I kind of came out here with a real specific thing I wanted to talk to Dawson about. And, we text all the time. I'll send him videos. I've been the guy prop my shoe up, got him on FaceTime and have him watch a couple punts and then FaceTime him and ask him what he thinks. But it's just different when you're out on the field with somebody. So I kind of wanted to talk to him about the way I got my elbow, my like underhand grip versus overhand, keeping the nose flat, a couple different things like that. And I just kind of wanted to play it out. So first part of the day, we were just kind of working with that. And then I've always found that when I make any kind of changes or I'm thinking, my speed tends to go down. So first part of the day was sort of just messing around with it. And then the second part of the day is add the speed back. It's kind of like, I kind of compare it to when you're driving and they tell you when you change lanes, you're supposed to speed up into the next lane. I think punting is kind of like that. When you change something, you kind of got to speed up into the change, because what'll happen is you'll make a change and then you'll lose speed because you're thinking and you're trying to get it right. But you actually don't know if the change is working because you've got no pace and no tempo to you. So add the tempo back, and I feel like it went well. And I think it was good competition. It's good to kick with those two guys. They're obviously some of the best legs in the NFL, and it's good just to kind of get out here and rip some balls.
I think what people know about you punting today, Dawson, anything you just want to add, cherry on top. Final closing thoughts.
Final closing thoughts. Yeah, I mean, I would say to the majority of people out there, one of the things that I end up having to do a lot of times is I'll talk to like high school or college kids, and they're like, ask the question you just did, like, oh, like, how'd you get better? What do you work on? All that stuff. And the two things I tell them is, number one, you can't get around good punters enough. Any opportunity you have, I don't care if you got to go live in Alaska, whatever you got to do, like, you have to get around good quality competition, because there's just no other way to get better. I firmly believe that. Maybe that doesn't work for everyone, but I don't really know who's the exception. And then thing number two is, if you're not getting better, you're probably just not doing enough. You're probably not doing enough drops. You're probably not working enough in the weight room. You're probably not taking care of your body. I talk to some like high school kids who are 16, 17, and they're like, oh, I only kick 2 times a week because I'm like really concerned about like over kicking. I'm like, dude, you have a rubber band at 16. You can't kick enough. There's no such thing as over kicking for you. And as you get older, over kicking becomes a thing, but I really think it's just under recovering probably. So taking care of your body is critical. But yeah, if you're 17 years old and you're worried about over kicking, like, relax. Like, you have to kick until you get good at it. Like, what happens? Like, okay, I didn't overkick. I kicked twice a week, and then I didn't get the scholarship offer because I didn't ever figure out how to punt. Like, you just need to go kick more. Like, I kicked every single day. You just have to do it until you get good at it. Yeah, I think punting is incredible. It's fun. It's a lot harder than people realize. I think that the camera angles of like NFL Sunday don't really do punting justice. Like, when you're on a field like this, you get to see how cool it is. Like, the trajectory of the ball. I mean, it's like the home run derby. People love the home run derby. It's moonshots, and that's what spiral punting is. And it's just, I mean, the balls are just flying out here. It's so cool. And on the NFL Sunday, they show the little picture, and then it just like zips downfield, and the returner's just waiting. But if they could really capture how cool it is, I think people would think punting is cooler than it is, because it actually is awesome. Like, I think that it's a cool skill. It's more difficult than most people think. It's kind of contradictory. You have to be, short but powerful. You have to be, quick with your hands but slow with your mechanics. And yeah, I think it's a really cool skill, and I have a lot of fun talking about it, thinking about it, working on it, coaching it, and doing the whole thing.